Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Biblio Fitness. Hope everyone's had a great day. Made some beautiful gains this morning, or whatever it is that you're watching. So today, I did want to read about, we'll discuss about section 425, which is titled "We Gods in Exile." Book 5 of the Dawn of Day has started off very interesting. It's gotten to the very point of where does the conception of truth come from, and what metrics we have built nowadays as to the validations or the refutation of such truths, and what are they for? What is this truth for? Are we really seeking truth in a disinterested way, no matter what the cost? No matter the ordeal, we'll take the truth and all that it entails, or are we seeking the truth as some sort of remedy, as a utility, as a coping mechanism? And that's what he's really been talking about. I'm going to read this section right quick before I continue any further. So, like I said, it's section 425, titled "We Gods in Exile." Quote, "Owing to errors regarding their descent, their uniqueness, their mission, and by claims based upon these errors, men have again and again surpassed themselves. But through these same errors, the world has been filled with unspeakable suffering, mutual persecution, suspicion, misunderstanding, and an even greater amount of individual misery. Men have become suffering creatures in consequence of their morals. And the sum total of what they have attained by those morals is simply the feeling that they are far too good and great for this world, and that they are enjoying merely a transitory existence on it. As yet, the proud sufferer is the highest type of mankind," end quote. And it goes really well with the first two sections of this book, which is really, it's titled "For to Whom the Truth Exists and in the Great Silence." I'm not gonna read them, but as I was saying before, is he really puts up a very interesting point that on how we perceive truth, and whether, like I said, whether it's valid, whether this can be considered such a truth. How a lot of us seek truth for remedy. As a sick person, we're seeking medicine. And, a lot of people come with the perception that the highest form of knowledge should be for the utility of mankind. And it only should be for that. It should be something that's helpful. It should be something that's beneficial, this culmination of knowledge, which is truth, right? That's the whole notion of the Enlightenment. That's the whole notion of someone like Plato, is through active seeking of increasing knowledge will one day get to the truth. But what if the truth is not useful? What if the truth runs contradictory to whatever innate preconceptions you had in the outset before you started on this path? What then? Does this truth lose reputation? Does this truth lose its pedestal because it's not valid for you? And this is something that must be asked, because I feel like a lot of people would refute that truth. A lot of people believe in something because they feel like they have to believe it. And I do want to say something in Latin. I feel it goes up beautifully with this whole notion. And it's "Credo quia absurdum est." I believe because it is absurd. And I feel like it goes hand in hand with the whole notion of why people believe in a religion or something, because it is absurd. And in this absurdity is a refutation of reason and logic, and and the conclusion of that logic is, and if those conclusions run contrary to what we're looking for, it cannot be valid. It cannot be true. And then we come with the excuse of, but who are we to question, or who are we to know? Who are we to say that this is the truth? Who are we to say that this is where it all ends? And so that nominal split, as so many philosophers like to say, I believe, is a way to circumvent that. It is a way to circumvent the facts. It is a way to be able to say, I believe because it's absurd. I don't trust my logic because I was born in error. As he was saying here in the section that I just read, that we're merely in a transitory existence, that we are born in error, we live in error, everything is an error, the world is an error. You know what I'm saying? That only through the grace of God can we go to the truth and go to heaven and all this other good stuff. But this all started with the very first section, which is very interesting, how, you know, he makes this this environment where he's writing of, you know, someone in deep silence, you know, away from the city, away from the prayers and all that. And you're seeing the outside, the sky and its depth, and the ocean and all the hues of the sun beaming down on it, the sky and the mountains and all these beautiful grand things, but they're silent. There's nothing to draw from them. You know what I'm saying? They're mute. They're like monuments. These projections, and they overwhelm us with emotions in our hearts, and our hearts swell, and we project. We project our preconceptions onto these worlds. You know how many people walk around thinking the whole universe is revolving around them? You know, that every single, you know, national disaster or natural disaster is some sort of moral assignment. It's like homework, like how, like, you know, like if something bad happened, it's because we did something wrong. And we always try to project, and we always try to find answers or whatever within these grand monuments, within nature, something that is beyond our comprehension, these powerful things. And we try to make them seem as beautiful. We try to show sympathy when in reality these are terrible things, you know. We try to make them seem beautiful, but they don't care about you. You know, you will die of cold, you will drown, you're gonna fucking drown, like you're dying of exposure or whatever the case may be. Your sympathy is all for naught. The love and compassion that you show towards this beautiful scenery does nothing for you. But it goes to the whole thing of why we seek the truth, because, you know, a lot of us go and say, oh, this is so beautiful, and this is why, you know, this is an example of God and his beauty and his magnanimity and his power, because, you know, who else could create such grand things? Who else? Like, you know, we try to find answers in something that there probably isn't any answers in, and we never will find any answers. But there's always that notion of we're trying to seek the truth in a way that helps us. And in 424, which is titled "For Whom the Truth Exists," you know, a lot of us go seek the truth as the ultimate consolation. How, you know, even when you're sick, you know, I mean, how we call it sick, you know, it doesn't always have to be physiological, but it could be mentally as well. It's like, that is going to change what you believe the truth to be. If you've always been suffering, if you've always been trampled on, it is a natural course for you to start believing the entire world is an error, right? Like, how can God create a world which I am suffering all the time? This world cannot be what it really is, because then it's fucked up. But God is beautiful. God is amazing. So there has to be something else beside this. There has to be a meaning. There has to be a purpose beyond what I can originally see. You know, it changes your perception. People who want to seek repose, people who want to seek pity, are going to seek a religion where violence is not necessary, where pity, where neighborly love is something that is extolled as a virtue. And so all our trajectories of what we want to perceive as the truth is never the truth. It's always biased. It's never, you know, but we always have to throw metaphysical value on whatever conclusion that we went to as the truth in order to make all sense, because we always have to be in charge. We always have to know what everything is. We can't seek, or we can be actively be refuted by others, because then our entire notions are destroyed and our pride gets destroyed along there. You know, we care very much about our pride, no matter how much people want to say otherwise. And, you know, it's only very specific people that will be able to seek the truth for the truth's sake. You know, he says the example of someone like Aristotle, who is powerful and harmless, but not those who think that there is nothing more, that the truth cannot be anything else other than something that is useful. But then, you know, when you get to that point, it makes sense as to why there would be unspeakable suffering, mutual persecution, misunderstanding, and suspicions, because everybody's going to project that in a very different way. And everyone's going to hold the torch saying, I hold the truth, not you. But then, you know, where all these notions coming from? And the only possible way that any of this could get resolved is through violent means, is through committing immoral acts. To be at the apex of morality, you have to commit the most immoral acts. You have to commit lying and slander and murder and persecutions. And that's why we have become suffering creatures, because of our morals and the perceptions of what the world is, what the truth is, and all that other stuff. We have become suffering creatures. We've always suffered, therefore our perception of suffering has become eternal. It's become something entirely, something that we'll eventually get away from, and we'll seek peace, and we'll finally seek solace. We'll finally seek a world where we don't have to deal with suffering anymore, which is very opposite with someone like the Vikings, for example, in Valhalla, where instead of finally no longer killing each other, you'll be killing each other for all eternity and eating and whoring. That is the apex. That is their truth, because that's based on how that civilization worked, of battling and war making and always raiding. You needed to instill that sort of culture. So their truth became something useful for the benefit and the survival of their culture, of their people. That's how it had to be. So, and, you know, it's just, that's how truth always is. You know, it's propaganda, if anything. It's a way, not propaganda, I rescind that word. It's not the appropriate word, but, you know, we create these things to help us. We don't really seek truth for what really is the truth. You know, it's always something very relative. It's always a matter of relativism, I suppose. I sound like a fucking postmodern, but it's because I am. But yeah, I love the very opening section of it, is, you know, getting down to the nitty gritty of what is the truth, who seeks it, and where we find these things. You know, how we always even warp nature itself to validate those sort of preconceptions that we have. So, starting off very well. But that'll be all for today. I'm going to go ahead and continue. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. I do hope you all have a great day. And until next time.